we get any further into this video, I wanted to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Skillshare. Hey guys, Chris from Hockey Tutorial here, and today in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the subject of overpaying for hockey sticks. I think this follows really naturally and nicely on from overpaying for skates, which is the video that I dropped previously. Now, there's a lot of ways that we can go about this, but I'm going to do it in a way that is going to be applicable, or it's going to apply to players that are recreational players, B-leaguers that have been playing for a while, that you might be pretty advanced, not necessarily a beginner. And I'm also going to be including information that's going to benefit anyone that's just getting into the game and trying to figure out where to spend their money with sticks. I think that in terms of all of the equipment that we use, it's safe to say that sticks are the most consumable product that a hockey player uses day to day. Our pads, our skates, are pieces of equipment that some of us use for years and years, especially if you've stopped growing and you don't have to upsize every year. But a stick is something you can use regardless of how much you spend on it, whether it's £100 or $100 or £300 or $300. You can use it for a day and it breaks. So sticks are a major consumable item that hockey players need to continuously buy. And if there's any ways that we can go about what we do in our spending habits to make sure that we still get the same level of performance out of what we buy, but we can spend, in some cases, less than half the amount, it's definitely something that's going to benefit anyone that's out there. And that's what we're going to be trying to focus on in this video. As always, before we jump into the video, please make sure that you are subscribed, because a bunch of you that watch our videos are not subscribed. If you want to support the channel, you want us to grow and keep making these videos, make sure that you're subscribed, and also, of course, make sure you thumbs up the video, because thumbing up the video, which always sounds weird when I say it that way, but thumbs up on the video essentially brings more eyes to the video, it brings more attention to it, it helps out the YouTube algorithm show our channel and the video to more people so we can grow and continue to make these videos. So before we jump in, thumbs up and also subscribe. And as an additional side note, it's important for me to mention that the Hockey Tutorial jersey store is back. Now, this is where you can pick up any of the custom jerseys that you've seen us wear in videos. I know the one that Tommy wears, which is the black and white camo jersey, has come up a lot. The link will be down below in the video description to our store. All of the jerseys are custom, so when you order one, it's got your name, your number, and your country flag on the back. If you want to pick one up and see what designs we have, the link will be down below in the video description. Now, when we look at the subject of sticks, a lot of us are guilty of always buying top spec, exactly the same as the skates. And again, that falls because of essentially what we are exposed to constantly. On social media, all of the key manufacturers that make the best equipment in hockey really only push and promote the top spec ranges. And even when you go onto their website, you're bombarded with images of whatever has just been released, and it's always top spec, and very little, if in some cases any attention is ever given to the models below that. So naturally, while we're shopping, because there isn't a lot of information on the web, there's not a lot of reviews about the models of sticks below top spec, naturally you're just going to pick up the top spec stick because you believe that that is what is going to be the best option for you to pick up. Now, of course, I'm just going to plug this real quick. We are going to be dropping an entire video series on all of the sticks below top spec from the entire range of Bauer sticks, not just one family. We're looking at all three families, all of the price points, and we're going to be explaining the differences in the real world when you put them on the ice. So avoiding all of the technical specs and the fancy words that's used to describe the different technology and features that you'll find on websites, we're going to be telling you what the bare bones of the products actually feels like and how it performs on the ice. We're going to start with Bauer, looking at all of their stick families. And the reason we're starting off with Bauer is because it's no secret right now, hockey equipment is incredibly difficult to get your hands on. This is just a repercussion of what's been going on in the world over the last 2-3 years. But Bauer, very graciously, I have to give a big shout out to them, have been able to essentially get us the stock that we need to be able to make these videos. So big shout out to Bauer. We're literally waiting for these sticks to arrive, and we're going to be breaking down the entire stick ranges below top spec for Bauer, then moving on to all of the other manufacturers after that. But when we actually look at the sticks, when you have top spec and you start to drop down in price points, I'm going to be using the Nexus or Nixus range of sticks for this purposes of this particular video, because it's a range that we've actually looked at on the ice, where we looked at the top spec being the Nexus Geo, the stick below that, which was the 3N Pro, and the stick below that, which was the 3N. I'll link that video down below, where myself and Tommy break down the specs and then also the performance on the ice and what you can actually feel when you get on the ice. The biggest surprising point with that video was the main thing that you could pick up on was the weight. All of the different technologies, the features that are packed into the sticks, if they've been constructed with different composite materials, all of the different fancy names that are used to describe the tech inside the sticks, you couldn't feel any of that. And Tommy even mentioned in that video, if I hadn't told him that there was a difference in terms of tech and specs, he wouldn't have been able to tell.
I've had sticks in the past that have been top spec and have lasted me 2 weeks, and I've had lower specs that have lasted me 2 years. It's hit and miss with sticks on carbon fibre and all that. You can't feel it. I mean, unless Chris would have just told me that, I wouldn't have had a clue.
as you drop in price point, you could really only feel the difference in the weight. That was the only thing that you'd pick up on. And it's important to mention that we were on the ice with these 3 sticks going down the price points while we were on the ice. So you pick one up, you get used to the feeling of that, and you switch over to another one. If you were to step onto the ice with the 3N in your hands and you hadn't had a go of the Geo or the 3N Pro, you wouldn't know the difference. You would just use that stick and enjoy using that stick. Essentially what I'm trying to say is a lot of the differences with a lot of the tech in hockey, if you're playing at the level that I mentioned at the start of this video, a beer league or recreational player, even if you're a very good one, a very experienced one, the vast majority of us watching this video are not going to be able to really feel the difference between a lot of the different price points of the sticks that we're using. So if you are the type of player that is going out there and you want the lightest possible stick, because that is actually going to affect your performance on the ice, a few grams here or there, in my experience, doesn't really make a difference. By all means, go ahead and pick up the top spec stick. But if a tiny bit of weight isn't really going to affect your performance, you can save a ton of money on the sticks you buy. Because I believe the difference between, for example, the 3N and the Nixus Geo was over $150 at the time that we were looking at it. I'll have all of the prices linked down below, but that is a massive, massive difference. This leads me on to a very nice point, which is also the fact that a lot of people out there are using, like I touched on with skates, in terms of stiffness and price point, a lot of us out there are using the wrong sticks. And sticks aren't like skates where if they are top spec, it's going to be stiff and it's going to hinder your movement and shooting on the ice. It's a very different thing. It's lighter, it might have more pop, it might have more feel, but really the difference is how much you're paying for the stick and the spec that that particular stick has. What I mean by a lot of us are using the wrong sticks is we're using the wrong flex, we're using the wrong lie, and we're using the wrong curve. Now, if you are set in your ways, what you've gotten used to using is what you're using, and you've not really experimented with other curves, and you're buying top spec sticks, you're a fairly mid-range or average player, you don't really need to be spending that kind of money on sticks. What I would suggest doing is experimenting by dropping down in price point, which opens up a whole other catalog of things that you can pick up at the same level of performance, but at a much lower price. You can go for last year's top spec if you really want to still stay at that elite category of sticks, but I would always suggest dropping down to the mid-range, because what you could essentially do is for the price of one top spec current stick, you could pick up 2 or 3 other sticks. Maybe of course you get the stick in the same length, but you could perhaps try different flex points, but more importantly, you could try different curves. It doesn't matter if you're an elite player or a beer league player, having the wrong curve makes a massive difference. I've described my performance on the ice in the last video as average at best. But I remember stepping out onto the ice, I had 2 Trigger 6 sticks. They had the exact same flex, the exact same lie, the same length, but they had 2 different curves. One was P92, the other one was P28. I grabbed the P92, didn't know, got onto the ice, and I was ripping shots at an open net, and I couldn't hit the target. I absolutely couldn't hit the target. I was overshooting it constantly. During the scrimmage that we were playing, I missed an open net, which I couldn't get over at the end of the game. But when I kind of stepped off the ice and looked at my stick and saw that it was a different curve, I was like, could that really be what the reason was? Maybe it was in my head. The next week, I went with the other curve, which was the P28, and I played so much better. I had so much control, or rather so much more control over the puck while I was shooting, stick handling. I just felt more confident off of just changing the curve. So if you've been using a particular curve for a very long time, and you have never ventured out, it's always worth, like I said, dropping down in price point, maybe looking at clearance sticks, because you have a hell of a lot more options at incredibly low price points, still an elite level performing stick if you wanted to stay there, but you can experiment with different flex profiles and also different curves to see if there's a different configuration that is going to wildly benefit your performance on the ice. I think the notion of buying last year's sticks is something that some players might not want to do because it's not cool, but I would strongly suggest doing so, because you're able to get, if you want to stay with top spec sticks, you'll be able to get them at essentially, in some cases, entry-level stick price points. And it means that you're still getting an elite level performing stick, but you're able to venture out, you're able to save money, so you can experiment with different stick profiles, different curves, different flexes, to see if that's going to have an impact on your performance on the ice. Now, when we move from there, looking at the notion of beginners, if you're getting onto the ice and you're trying to figure out what is the best stick for a beginner to be using, essentially it's whatever stick you can get your hands on. What I mean by this is right at the kind of infancy of you learning how to stick handle, how to receive passes, how to shoot, I personally feel like the 2 things you need to figure out, after working out if you're left or right-handed, different subject, but from there, the 2 things you need to figure out is the flex of the stick and the length of the stick. I think a point that you definitely need to keep in mind is going to be the length of the stick, making sure it's not too tall or not too short. in your skates somewhere between the tip of your nose and your chin. That's a good starting point to kind of figure out what you like, if it's a shorter stick or a longer stick or an average length stick. Now, in terms of the actual stick spec, what I would definitely consider trying to work on is going to be the flex of the stick. If you're, for example, similar weight to me, which is about 75 kilograms, which in pounds is roughly translates to about 160 pounds. Alexa, what's 75 kilograms in pounds?
75 kilograms is 165 pounds.
Okay, there you go. So if you're a similar weight to me, which is about 165 pounds, or if you're in the UK, kilograms, about 75 kilograms, you half your body weight in pounds, which gives you the stick flex you should be using, which will sit me somewhere between 80 and 87 if we're looking at Bauer stick flexes. Now, what I would suggest doing if you're new on the ice is going down to the next tier of stick flex, which would be between 70 and 77. What that will allow you to do is the stick might be a little bit whippy for what you think you should need, but it just allows you to get the concept of using a stick's flex to add more power to your shot. If the hockey stick is too stiff and you're starting out onto the ice, you're not going to realize how to use that flex to your advantage. So making sure you go for a stick that's a little bit more whippy than what you would typically be recommended using based on half of your body weight will really help you to kind of learn the concept of how to flex a stick while you're shooting it. Now, when you're looking at the notion of curve, that's something that I feel like has been simplified over time, because a few years ago, all of the different manufacturers had tons of curves. Essentially now most manufacturers have 3 or 4 curves that are available worldwide, which makes it a little bit easy. Again, with curve, what I would suggest if you're a beginner is instead of going for a top spec stick and spending £200-300 or $200-300 on a stick, spend 100 or less. Because what that allows you to do is maybe pick up 2 sticks in the same stick profile, but the only thing that you might change is the curve. So maybe go for a P29 and a P28, mess around with the 2 of them to see which one you prefer. If this isn't an option and you can only pick up 1 stick, of course your teammates, the friends that you'll make on the ice, see if they'll allow you to shoot with their stick, just so you can see what a different curve feels like. But in terms of worrying about what curve you should get, the different stick models that are out there when you're a beginner, that doesn't matter. Get the right length, the right flex, and try and experiment with 1 or 2 curves to see which one is going to be the best option for yourself. But the biggest takeaway from this video is, although the top spec sticks look incredibly glamorous, it's the ones that all of the NHL players are using, it's the ones that we see bombarded to us on social media, with a lot of them, this isn't all of them, and it's why we're going to be looking at top spec versus the models below. A lot of them, the only difference that you can really feel on the ice is the weight. So if you're spending $300+ on a stick, or £300+ on a stick, and the only thing that you're getting is a slightly lighter stick that's not really going to impact your performance, I would always suggest looking at the models below, mid-range, or even slightly below that. Or most importantly, don't forget about clearance in last year's stock. You can save yourself a ton of money because, like I said at the start of the video, hockey sticks are the most consumable product that we use on the ice, aside from things like tape, of course. Don't try flag me on that in the comments. But a lot of us can go through sticks like crazy. So if you can find a way to still get the same performance, the same experience, but you're going to be saving yourself a lot of money, essentially all of those benefits at a fraction of the price, who isn't going to want to do that? Before we get any further into this video, I wanted to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore skills, deepen existing passions, and get lots in creativity. Now, I know a lot of you that watch our videos have started making your own. Skillshare would be the perfect place for you to be able to jump onto, to be able to deepen your knowledge of what you can do with a camera to make your videos more engaging and more interesting. Now, whether that's with photography, taking much better pictures that's going to grow your audience, or whether it's with your video editing skills, Skillshare will be a great place for you to jump onto to become better at what you do creatively. I've mentioned in previous videos that I don't actually watch any YouTube content about ice hockey when I'm on the website. What I tend to watch is a lot of stuff from other creators who are actually on Skillshare as well. For example, like MKBHD, who's a video tech producer, and some of the content that he shoots is unbelievable. Now, MKBHD actually has his own course on Skillshare, which is called YouTube Success, Script, Edit, and Shoot with MKBHD. That's the type of stuff that I like to use to be able to find out what I can do with a camera, what I can do in my edits to make my videos more engaging and make them stand out just a little bit more. I also like to follow another creator on Skillshare called Justin Bridges, and his course is called Fundamentals of DSLR Photography, a great place to learn how to take better images, more engaging images for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, regardless of what it is, a great place to learn how to use a camera much better. Whether you're trying to get better at video editing, photo editing, or just learning how to use a camera to create much better, much more engaging videos for TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Skillshare is the #1 place for you guys to be able to do that. And because Skillshare is cured specifically for learning, it means that there's no ads, nothing's going to be interrupting your learning experience. Skillshare is also constantly updating their platform with new premium classes, so you can always stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click on the link down below in the video description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. A big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If there's anything that you feel like we've missed or anything that you want us to touch on in the next video, please comment down below. But like I said, we are going to be looking at all of the sticks at different price points very, very soon. A big thank you for watching this video. If you've got any questions, please leave them down below in the comment section. Make sure that you've subscribed and you've thumbs up. Follow us on Instagram, the links will be down below, and our hockey tutorial jersey store is live. A lot of you have told us to bring it back, and that's exactly what we've done. So if you're after the camo jerseys, HT jerseys of all different colors and patterns, link will be down below in the video description. Thank you for watching, and take care till next time.